Okay, welcome back to Find Your Flow, everybody. If you have been following me, you know that I am on a personal, I don't know, maybe rampage is too strong a word, but I am on a mission right now to help as many people as possible heal our relationship with money. I feel that money is this amazing opportunity to teach us maybe what's been lurking in the shadows, what's around the corner, what are we most afraid of? I think it's a mirror that shows up in our life to be able to teach us what we can focus on next. And my personal opinion is that the nervous system drives everything. The nervous system on the physical level, that are the nerve impulses that are stimulated by emotion that run through not only our central nervous system but our fascia and then through our cells, and then it makes its way up to our brains, and that dictates how we actually function. And that means that dictates our relationship with money, wealth, abundance, prosperity, that feeling of safety, security, and freedom to be able to be who we want to be. And that means that we get to then show up to do what we want to do with our lives. So please join me this episode with Jennifer Edwards. She is a financial wellness specialist and this listener is the whole reason why she's here. She has specialized training in financial therapy. Have you ever even heard of that? Because I didn't. The psychology of money and money trauma. Jennifer, welcome to the studio with me. I cannot wait to dive into this.
I'm so excited to be here, Lisa, because I know that your audience is really ready to embrace that energetic transfer that will happen as they understand their relationship with money, that they'll get it on a binary level, how impactful this is.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I do believe that money is a huge, I don't know, maybe a marker, at the very least, like a trigger for flow. And money in and of itself flows into our lives, flows out of our lives. We can create a container for it, or we could literally hang on to it like water dripping through our fingers and going, what the F, where did it go? I don't understand. And in there lies this body of work that you do with the trauma of money. So I thought that this was the perfect conversation to be having, especially right now. We're into a brand new year. Listeners, you'll be hearing this probably in the springtime, which is a beautiful opportunity to bust open those windows and really air out your homes, your lives, and start thinking about how to do money differently. So, Jennifer, can we please start with your definition of flow? What does flow mean to you?
You know, there's so many ways to be in a state where your mind and your body and your spirit are in alignment. And that's really how I kind of feel like flow feels, is when nothing feels out of place. It's a conscious living. It's a way of being like, where we get to be in this situation where we're noticing and we're not judging. So much of our interaction with money is about judgment. And if we can just go, oh, I get why I'm doing this. And that's interesting that happened. And this is a situation I'm facing instead of like this huge trauma or crisis. And I think that we can be a little bit more in flow, and that it doesn't happen all the time. But, I know that my meditation practice is, I have my morning meditation practice, which is, to actually sit and actually like bring that body and mind and spirit into alignment. But then I also try to do it throughout the day. And my big way of doing that is what I call following the why. So when I have an emotion emerge, and this is another thing I know you've talked about, like what emotions are. So your listeners are hopefully very familiar with like that they arrive out of a story, they come from a stimulus, and then we have this reaction that, our brains decide how that's going to look, and hormones are, it's physiological. And then when that emotion comes up, instead of going, this doesn't feel good, I don't like this, or even attaching myself to it, if it's a joyful feeling, like saying, oh, this defines me, or, oh, I just, this is how I want to feel all the time, to go, why is this happening? What is this story behind this? What's the meaning here of this experience? And really kind of sit with it and be with it, and understand it, and all of the tears that might come up, or all of the, and it's like, oh yeah, I haven't even thought about that in a long time. This must be related to that. Letting my nervous system go, we need a release here. Let's take advantage of it. So like that conscious living. That's a big long answer. I don't know if that's how you like to do things.
It's, oh my God. Everything you say is perfect. Like, truly, I don't care how you could talk for an hour. It wouldn't bother me.
Oh, please.
I truly believe that what you have to say is what listeners need to hear and what they'll benefit from. Yeah, don't think that your answers are too long. I think your answers are beautiful. And according to that definition of flow, when was a time where you felt you were out of flow?
So I actually have another designation that you didn't address in the introduction, which is the Certified Financial Planner designation. So that's my CFP. That's really how I entered the space of people and their money. And I worked for a nonprofit firm for about 8 years. And one of the ways that kind of hit a place of not being in flow was we were working with people all over the country to a virtual system during COVID. And so it opened up our ability to work with people from all geographic regions. And so it also opened up this opportunity to work with people from all kinds of different cultural backgrounds, not that just kind of lived in the state and the area where we live. So what I started to see was not everybody comes to a financial conversation with the same financial values, and that there's all these different cultural ideas around just very basic things like what it means to be secure. What does financial security even mean? The value of things, how you think about your resources, our ownership. That I was like, my training didn't prepare me for there to be any other system other than the colonial Western European system that permeates our economic system. And I was like, and I didn't even know where to send them. I was like, I don't even know if there's anybody who speaks this language and provides the financial guidance that, an expert can provide, which is what they need more than anything. So that was like, and I started to just try to gather resources. I'm a natural learner. I listen to podcasts all the time. That's like my happy places are with books and with audiobooks and reading and podcasts. And so I tried to find information about this. And it felt very uneasy for me to not have the tools that I needed to be a really effective advisor for them, and yet still be their best option. And I actually left that job. And this is how I think your next question about how I find my way back to flow.
Yes, ma'am.
And here I am, still, I think, in the midst of this journey, but I am living very consciously in this entrepreneurship adventure that I have embarked on, where I left a job that, it was steady income. It was, 9 to 5,
secure.
It was security. I'm very lucky in that I'm partnered with a good provider, and we had the economic, because when I started working, I actually was a homeschool mom of my 3 kids for 20 years. So we didn't fully grow into my income. So that was really helpful. It was kind of mostly a savings mechanism and some ways that we were helping children with college and things. And so that was kind of what got put to the side as I started a new journey. And I have partnered with the University of Arizona. We're doing some research on race and financial socialization, how the messages they got when they were younger impact their relationship in adulthood and across different races. And there's not a whole lot on it. We have our work cut out for us. There's a lot of communities that haven't even been interviewed or asked or even thought about, because they're not in colleges, which should be an indication to us that, our system is unequal, because that's the student sampling that we usually receive would be in universities. So I'm in that. I've started this business, which I'm sure we'll get into talking about later, working with people on these issues. When I left there, that's when I went and got my trauma training, my therapeutic training, a psychology training, and I just kind of tried to feel like, the next time I meet with somebody, I'm going to get the whole picture.
That's such a beautiful endeavor. Truly. Because in a lot of cultures, money's taboo. We
in
don't
ours.
talk about it. There's a whole lot of, I think, generationally and culturally speaking, when something is taboo, then it gets exploited, right? And you've got
Hmm.
two ends of the spectrum.
A taboo is taking away people's voice. So yeah, of
Exactly.
course it'll go to
Exactly. And if we
exploitation.
don't talk about it, then we can't educate. And if people are unable to get that education, then we continue this cycle, which in and of itself is traumatic,
Hmm.
especially when our greatest tangible exchange, I should say, is money.
Yes.
Money it is the way that our world functions, and that's just the way that it is right now, and everybody can agree or disagree on whether or not that's right or wrong. Kind of doesn't matter because it is what it is right now, and until we can maybe, I don't know, kumbaya it and barter everything, that then we have to have these conversations.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's the good thing. The good thing is, from my experience, money is like that final frontier. It's the biggest, it's the scariest, but my God, when we can get to the other side, what
Yeah.
changes it brings to our lives, to our everyday lives. And I am not just talking about level of tangible comfort. I am talking about the luxury of ease,
Yes.
peace, clarity, communication, confidence, willpower, the wealth of self. All of these things come from and are manifested in our relationship with money. Now I know, so I'm in my 50s, and I remember 2008,
Yeah.
the global crisis, financial
Yeah.
crisis. I remember that very well. And you mentioned COVID, another huge demarcation in our current history of how much money was impacted, how much our lives were impacted by money. And I take that as, yes, absolutely. It was a time of struggle. 2008 was my God, I hope I am trying really hard, Jennifer, to not curse. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this entire episode without cursing, but I'm going to try.
Said that, I'm like, I'm wondering why she's doing that.
I'm trying. I am. I'm trying to clean it up. I don't know if I can. I don't even know if I should bother trying. But anyway, 2008 was, I mean, I remember that. We had just bought a new house. We had just moved
Ooh.
in. Uh-huh. And then within a month, boom,
You
the
probably
bottom
bought at
dropped
the
out.
peak.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. And it took a good 4 to 5 years to recover from that.
Oh, yeah. And you were traumatized all that time. Your nervous system was activated for 5 years. So
Exactly.
you probably need at least, they say for every 10 years, you need a year of recovery. So, a 6-month process of like dedicated nervous system reset would be required for just that one experience.
Yeah. And as luck would have it, I started down this road of healing my relationship with money via my nervous system probably 6 months ago. So,
Oh, okay.
yay me, I'm
Yes,
coming to
yeah,
the end of
you.
it. And what I learn, I teach, which is why you are here. Can you please explain to our listeners what what is the relationship between how we experience money every day in our lives, and that listener, the traumatic responses that can look like money comes in, I don't know where the hell it goes, it just somehow gets spent, and all of a sudden I'm without, and I don't know where it went. Or it can come in and then go out very, very quickly, and I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. Or it comes in and you hoard it and you hang on to it, and now you don't have a beautiful surplus. You have a hoard that you sit on because you feel unsafe
Mhm.
to actually spend.
Mhm.
That's how it like sort of shows up in traumatic responses in our lives. What is the relationship between that experience and our nervous systems? And then how can we begin to heal that? I think the first step, number one, is to recognize it. So let's do
Mhm.
that. Let's call it out for what it is.
And just recognize that we are all dysregulated around money. So there's no shame in being that way. And unless you have done very serious, dedicated work to it, just assume that that's the case for you. You don't need to go, I wonder if I'm messed up around money. I'm sure you are.
I love that. I love that you just normalized it, because I know for me, having gone through 2008, like COVID was not a big deal for me. I was like, wow, this is actually really nice. And I had to close my studio. And
Yeah.
so I get it. We were safe during that period of time because my husband, he already worked online. So that continued on.
You had
My
that privilege.
We did. We had that privilege. I also had the privilege of amazing clients who were just like, can I continue to pay you? And we just meet on Zoom. Heck yeah. Which is like, I was like, okay, that's a challenge. I have no idea how to do this, but yes, we can do that. But I still hadn't healed. I hadn't even realized the 2008 trauma. I had not recognized that. And I think it's because I just made it through that. Can we just please close the door on that
Right. You
and
weren't
move on
following
into
the
the next
why,
phase?
right? You were like, I just don't like this. I don't
Right.
like.
Like,
Mhm.
get me the F away from this. I'm running as fast and as far as I possibly can, which I think is our natural inclination. That
Yeah.
keeps us safe. Absolutely. So 100% on that. Listener, you're totally normal. You're totally normal. Can I say that 1,000 times over? You're totally normal. So can you please explain, did I get it right with the symptoms? What does that mean for the nervous system? And then what can we start to do to just start to heal this process?
Yeah. So I do see oftentimes those two extremes. The wanting to sit on it almost like a security blanket, just kind of can't have enough in terms of maybe it's cash. Another way that it shows up is in commodities. So when you see people who are actually hoarding things and their space is
Yes.
really cluttered, that's also trying to mimic a feeling of safety. It's literally like a womb. You walk into a
Mm-hmm.
hoarder's house and it's like the air is so small. If you go and clean it up, it just in a few weeks it'll be back.
Yes.
They're not going to feel safe in in a room with a lot of space. They need that confinement in order to feel, and
It's
I've
like a
even
squeeze
traced,
box.
yeah, I've even traced some of that back to, even birth stories or intergenerational birth stories where people have had traumatic births and then they have to have I call it a womb around them all the time. So I
That's
think that's how
fascinating. And I say
plans.
that because I had a grandmother who was a hoarder.
Yeah. And when we understand it, then we can start to go, this isn't her choice. Her nervous
Right. This
system
is
is
her.
literally saying,
Yes.
how do I make the world safe? We should be proud of the way that our childhood, like the story makers in our childhood brains, created a reality that kept us alive through all of the difficult things that we had to face as children. Unless somebody explains it to us, unless you're raised by Mr. Rogers, you probably are not going to have you're not going to understand what's all going around when your parents fight or somebody's crying over the bills or for some reason now you don't have heat or gas or something, or how come. This was a big one for me, was how come the really mean, nasty kids have fantastic Christmases
Oh,
and the people that are like humble and nice, they get maybe
they
one
have
or two
nothing.
small things.
Right.
It's like there's a disconnect there. My poor little 9-year-old brain was like, it seems like it might be a good thing to be a bad kid and
Right.
not a nice kid, even though
Well, I
the
think
whole
we're
Santa
seeing
Claus
that.
narrative was against that.
I think we're watching that play out real time on the big screen. Like we
Mm-hmm.
see it every day on the TV. We see it in our country. We see it on a global scale. Why is it? And this is something fascinating that I learned because I had that same question. Why is it that like the quote bad people seem to have all the money and all the power? And in all of my journey on healing this money trauma, what I learned was simply that money is energy and money goes to where it feels accepted. And if you are someone who is like, "Pff, I'm the bomb diggity, like my shit doesn't stink, you're damn right money's going to show up because money shows up where it's kind of like neutral and deserved, right? Feels deserved. And these people feel deserved.
Yeah, because it's this feeling of, instead of it coming really from a place of love, it is actually coming from a place of fear. And we
Mm,
can see this in a lot of our leaders in the country today. The fear of like oblivion, of like
for sure.
falling into oblivion, can lead us to a point of like, where it's like the story again is I have to be everything. I have to be so important I have to get this external validation from other people because I feel so unimportant inside. In fact, if you read history and psychology of our current president by his niece, I think that's a really fascinating book. Helps us
Yes.
understand President Trump's way of going into the world, the way that he interacts in the world. That's a really fascinating read. It's not very long. So Mary Trump is her name. What is the author? And I can't remember what the name of the book is, but I listened to it like right when he was getting elected or something. And I was like, oh, this makes sense to me now, what I'm hearing out of
Well, for sure.
his
The
voice.
dysfunction is fascinating. It really is. It's just hoarding on a huge scale. It's incredible to me. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I
No,
took us.
no, that's great. I'm gonna, try to come back to helping us understand this experience with our money every day and our nervous system. So, first of all, I know that you've addressed trauma. We're just going to do a quick primer of what it
Please.
is. So when we have an experience that is too much for our bodies to process right away. So a lot of times, especially you see this in children, they get hurt and they cry, right? That's the nervous system release. That is when we have a stimulus, and it could be a happy stimulus or a unhappy stimulus. I really call them uncomfortable, because there's really no bad or good in terms of your emotions are just trying to keep you alive. Your body's
Hmm.
trying to keep you alive. So it's not about like, actually your brain is not trying to make you happy. It's just trying to keep you alive. So if we just say,
It's a
you
low
know,
benchmark.
we're having happy experiences, it's trying to keep us alive. So it's wanting us to seek food, and it wants us to reproduce. So that's really what biologically we're created to do. So the happy, attractive type of feelings that we have are leading us to this, as well as the motivation. It's to lead us to this. The fearful things and the responses that feel like uncomfortable to us are to keep us safe and out of danger so that we can continue to survive. So when we have an experience that is too much for us, let's say you're a kid and this probably happens to all of us because we're raised by human beings. So let's say you had a great day at school. Maybe you were given an award for something that you did, and you were given accolades and recognition, and you were so excited. You were going to come home with like a certificate or a ribbon or something, and you walk through the door and you're so excited to share it with, either your mother or whatever caregiver was there that you
Hmm.
expected. And you walk in and you see either you're met with either disregarding you're just like, Mom, I did this, look at what I got. And she's like, I'm too busy. Like, go play in your room. Or you walk in and maybe she's upset about something. Maybe you walk into, some kind of, she's on the phone with somebody. Maybe it's a bill collector or something. And so you don't get that need met. You don't know how to advocate for yourself because you're a little kid, and it's the role of your caregivers to make sure that your needs are met. So you kind of scrunch this in and you're like, this really hurts. I really wanted to share this thing with this person that I love and that cares for me. But you don't know that, the way that you should be doing that is like, okay, I'm going to tuck this away for a second, but then as soon as I can, I should bring it back up. You think that this is a rejection of self. Your poor little brain comes up with a story of like, because you cannot, it will literally kill you to think that you are not worthy of love. As a child, if you are not worthy of love, you are going to be disconnected from your caregivers, your safe place of being. And so to think that you're not worthy of being taken care of, like that's inconceivable. So you make up a story, and it might be something like rich people are so mean. Like maybe she's on the phone with somebody and you start to think rich people are so mean. And then maybe you come down and you hear mom complaining to dad that evening about like, you know, they're gonna take away this, they're gonna repossess our car if we don't, quickly get some money together. Can we borrow from your parent? Like you see this going on. And it doesn't even have to be around money, but oftentimes because our stories, those binary beliefs, they they impact everything that we do with money. So it could be even things like, you know, my Uncle Joe, who, has a lot of money, should be helping us, but he doesn't. Something like that. You could have that basic belief. And because you've never explored them or vetted them, and they were created by this immature brain in these circumstances. So the trauma comes from being overwhelmed in a nervous system response. The brain we're story making machines. This is what we do. We make narratives out of everything. And so we have then a belief that is formed. And then because we are children and we're living in basically a state of hypnosis until about eight or nine, and then we get into into brain waves that we're more able to learn, and that lasts all the way until 12. So we're kind of like sponges for everything around us. It's almost like we're everything is going to teach us. It's going straight into our subconscious. So all of these things will then form those narratives, and then they get reinforced as we have those narratives over and over again. In fact, by the time we're 35, I think it's 95% of what we think is like already programmed, like it's automatic. We're not, we've already got it in our heads. So the trauma experience leads to this nervous system. It's kind of like a little stuck. It's like this little energy ball that I didn't have a way to release. I wanted to release this by expressing this. And I love the wording, expressing an emotion. It's literally like that. It's like pressing oil out of an olive or juice out of a grape. It has to come out. If it doesn't, then it gets stuck somewhere. And that's an energetic, like, this is where disease comes from. Disease. This is, you can also see tightness. I see this in my yoga practice. Like, the people who are really healing are totally flexible. It's almost like their bodies are like a baby's, they can bring their feet up above their heads, and, just like a child can when they don't have all of that kind of stickiness everywhere. Yeah. So processing an emotion when it comes up, not saying to yourself, can't cry, got to keep myself together. It's better to say, I'll be right back, and then go into a private space and have the experience. And I really think that the younger generation, we're both in our 50s, so this is good because you understand and we understand, like, our generation didn't talk about our feelings, and certainly our parents' generation didn't. But my children's,
I know that 2026 is a time to embrace more wealth, more opportunity, more prosperity, more joy, more happiness. But we sort of have to get it together. So to get us there, I created a program called the Held Container. Let me ask you a question. Does your life work because you feel you hold everything together? You brace for things. You brace for life. If you can say yes to that, then I invite you to pause. Take a breath. The Held Container is a small, intentional program designed to replace bracing with structure so your nervous system can rest and money no longer feels stressful or overwhelming. This isn't about pushing harder, fixing yourself, or doing more. It's about creating safety, stability, support where you've been carrying everything alone. I've opened this program for only 6 people. 6 people who are ready to allow money to feel safe instead of stressful, and to experience what it's like to be held by structure rather than pressure. I think we can all identify with that. So if this feels calm instead of exciting, it's not a coincidence. Your system is already responding to the Held Container. Apply now. Apply at nagarelife.com. I hope we get to work together.
But my children's generation, they're far more open to this kind of stuff. And they're going to say things to their coworkers like, I'm having a really hard time dealing with what we're talking about right now. I'm going to go in the bathroom and get regulated. I'll be right back. Like, that's a possible thing for them to say. I could not have said that at my job when I was, in my 20s.
Love that they feel that empowered.
That is so great. I attribute it to, social media, I think, has benefits and
Mhm.
it's also dangerous in a lot of
Agreed.
ways. But
Agreed.
like you said, when we break those taboos and we start talking about things and we have that information, then people can get educated and change their lives and move toward new paths. So when that trauma gets stuck in our system, and then we can start to see then what happens is it's like the past becomes the present because we never really processed that. So
Right.
you will have something that will trigger, so you'll have a stimulus. Let's say it's down the road. We'll use that same example. Let's say down the road. And it led to this feeling of abandonment. It led to this feeling of like wondering about your own self-worth. So let's say you are, and if your dominant trauma response, and I like to talk about the 4 dominant trauma responses of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. So
Mhm.
I usually just ask people, when you were stressed as a child, what did you do? Did you run into another room and just kind of huddle down and cry by yourself? Did you get really angry and start, pulling things and throwing things and scratching at people? Did you start to placate? Did you say things like, "Mom, are you all right? Can I get you a cup of tea?" Or, let
Mm.
me bring you something, because that was the way that you were going to deal with stress, was like, let me see if I can manage the people around me. So that's the fawning one. And then freeze is just kind of where you're like a deer in the headlights and you're going until some other stimulus makes you move again. So if your dominant trauma response was, let's say it's freeze,
I
and
was gonna say, I was a freezer. Can we talk
are you
about
freeze?
freeze?
I'm freeze too. I'm freeze.
Total
Like,
freeze.
it's almost like I want more information. I'm like, what? What
I'm
do I?
like, I can't even process.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know I'm freeze. I know for sure that that's my dominant one. And women are encouraged to be freeze, flight, and fawn responses. And men they were rewarded
Fight.
for
Yeah.
fight. So that's probably coming from our cultures. But so let's say you're at a job and you learn that there's going to be they're looking to promote somebody and you feel qualified for this promotion and you feel like you've got the experience and that you should be considered. And then you learn that they're considering somebody that isn't really qualified, or maybe they even have been underhanded in ways, like if they've been kind of butt kissing the boss and
Mhm.
they really don't know what they're doing, and you feel like I'm better for this. And if you feel yourself kind of coming back from that, like stepping back, and that's kind of your nervous system saying, this feels like what was happening before. And so it's this, like, the past is the present type of an experience. So it's like it builds on itself. It's not a new experience. It's like your body is thinking, we've been here before. We're still here. And this is how we respond to this. So it's really important to process the nervous system response through when emotions arise. They must have an end, and it needs to look like an arc. It needs to come like an emotion comes up and then we feel the full weight of that feeling. And it could be anger, it could be rage, it could be, really those words are just words that we have decided to use to describe a set of physiological responses. So it's just a physiological response. It needs to happen depending upon, especially if you have some built up ones. It could be that you have an emotion and then another one and then another one. But each emotion is really only about 20 seconds. So it can feel like a long time but it's actually several waves. So, that's kind of the main way, is like to start by not being afraid of those things when they come up. And I know that the men that I work with, this is extremely hard for them. And I say, you don't have to do this in public.
Right.
Women might feel okay, like kind of getting teary, and that's just our culture saying it's all right. And if you need to go into a bathroom and be like, if it's, or a closet or something, and just be like, I'm really mad. And then just kind of let it, don't try to stop it. Don't try to hamper it, because that's exactly what got you where you are.
So feel the emotions, express the emotions in a safe space,
Mm-hmm.
in a respectful manner to yourself. Like, be
It's an
respectful of
honoring.
yourself.
It's an
Yeah,
honoring of your
honor those
experience.
feelings.
If you say, I'm gonna honor this response now, it wasn't honored in the past. If it's trauma, then that means it's from the past and it's back up now. If it's just a new experience, most adults, we don't have new experiences. By the time we're
Right.
50, it's all automatic. So, if you're having a new experience, that's great. That means you've done a lot of healing. But yeah, so you're gonna feel it, you're gonna express it, you're gonna not say, "Don't like this."
Run away, right?
Don't judge it, just
Don't
go, "This
right.
is yeah, this is just my body doing what it needs to do to stay alive, to try," and again, like I said, body's not interested in contentment, it's just interested in continuing to exist.
Yes. And we're really, really good. So listeners, please understand at the root of all of this is you're really good at being alive. I mean, it's what we were built and designed to do. We were designed to be alive. We're designed to stay alive. We're designed to heal. It- I mean, that's the whole human existence, that right there. And on a physical level, mental, emotional, spiritual, it's all the same. So you just have these different facets of yourself and the different facets of existence. So acknowledging, number one, whatever it is that you are feeling is totally normal. Number two, what you're feeling is literally just a feeling.
Mhm.
It's a physiological response. It is your body doing what it does best, and that is to keep you safe. Your brain is what acts as this sort of like translator. And we're trained to then add labels. This is good. This is bad.
And tell stories
And
about it.
and we tell ourselves the stories about it. And my God, do they feel real? Because your body says, yes, yes, that is the truth. So you've got these dual entities happening here, a story that we tell ourselves and our bodies that validate that story.
Yes,
And so the
and
sweet
reinforce it.
spot is being able to jump in the center of it and go, whoa, time out.
That's the flow of consciousness, right? When we can
Yes,
go, this emotion is just happening and then just sit with it. Oof, our culture does not like that. It says consume something
yes,
to distract yourself from an
yes.
experience. And
Yeah,
so then we get into more shame because of course that's going to lead to overspending or gambling or some kind of dopamine
right.
seeking behavior.
Exactly, exactly. So that pause,
Mhm.
listeners, you've heard me say it on many, many, many episodes, that pause, that power is in the pause. If you can pause just long enough. I remember when I first sort of tripped on this. It was, gosh, maybe 5 years ago. I was in my bathroom when all of a sudden I felt that nothing in particular triggered the anxiety attack. Nothing conscious triggered the anxiety attack, but there I stopped in my tracks and I felt an anxiety attack and I went, "Wait a second. Anxiety is just a plethora.
Yeah.
It
Another
is a
overwhelm.
buildup of energy." Right? And I don't know what triggered it. I don't know what suddenly released all of this excess from the cells in my body that are my little battery packs.
Lisa,
And
it could have actually been that you felt safe and your body said, okay, we're safe enough to have this
to
experience
let this
now.
go. That makes total sense because it was literally nothing was happening. In fact, it was probably the opposite of I remember looking around my bathroom and thinking, "Man, the sunlight is beautiful. Look at that rainbow." And I turned around and full anxiety attack. And I was like, "Okay, time out. There's that excess that's being released, and I don't know why, but here it is, and it's just excess energy. So where can that go?" And literally in that nanosecond of identifying and validating what that actually was, everything went, and I went, okay. So now when that happens in the future, I have a different way of approaching it rather than, oh, fuck, and white knuckling, right? And going, What is happening? I didn't have to take that route, right? I'm at this fork in the road, and I didn't have to go down the route of leaning into the anxiety of it. I could lean into the curiosity of it. Oh,
Right.
isn't that curious?
Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah. The fact that you were relaxed and happy actually was that signal to the body of like, okay, it's safe now to actually express and expel this.
To let this go.
In fact, I see this in personal relationships. I work with people who are going through divorce, especially the women, because I want to help them have support in their financial journey. Because what happens a lot with women is that we get these overwhelming emotions in the midst of especially turmoil or crisis. And we just, especially our freeze response says, I just want to let it go. I just want to get through this. I
Like,
mean,
can we
take the
just not?
house
Yes,
or make
yes,
me take
yes.
the house or, take my retirement or whatever. I just want to be done with it. Right. So if they can have an objective person to help them through that experience. So that's one of the things that I do. And one of the stories that I get a lot is that why are my kids so angry when they come to my house instead of my husband's house, even though he's the one who cheated and he's the one who was never around and he's the one who never played with them, never took care of them. And then they come to my house and they act like animals. And I'm like, that's because you are safe. He is
Yeah.
not. They're going to erupt in the places where they know that the person they're erupting to isn't going to abandon them. And they're worried about that with him. I know I'm generalizing, but this is the pattern that I see.
I noticed that too when the kids were young. So our daughter, she's 25 and our son is 22, and they're the oldest of the
You and I
cousins,
are
right?
almost exactly the same. I have 3 kids and the oldest is 28 and then my middle is 25 and my youngest is 22. Yeah.
They're great ages too.
Mm-hmm.
I love
A
it.
lot of
I
fun.
love everything about it. And they're very my kids are older than my sister's children. There's a good 10-year gap
I've
between
got that
our
too. That's
oldest.
wild. I've got a
Yeah,
brother
that
that's
is that is
18 months younger than me, and his children are like 12 years younger than mine, his
yeah.
oldest. Yeah.
So we were like the experiment, right?
Right.
We're the trailblazers, those
Mm-hmm.
pioneers into parenting.
You're the guinea
And
pigs.
I credit Montessori because I was a Montessori teacher, and that's what taught me how to mother in a totally different way than even conventional society was telling you to parent. I went a Montessori route. But what I remember when the kids went off to school and when they would come back, and literally, I mean, they come back and they're sweating and the clothes come off and they're, running around half naked in the house. And I would just go, that is
That's
such a
a good sign.
compliment. That's such a compliment that they could come in and that you watch them remove the day and then come and get a snack and come and get a hug and come and watch TV or do whatever it is that you need to do to process whatever just happened during the day. And I remember when it was my sister's turns with their kids, and they would come home from daycare or school and they would be crying and like the fits of rage. And I said, listen, if everybody can just remember that that's a compliment, that they came to their safe space and let it all go. Just let them let it go
Mm-hmm.
and then nourish them, right? Give them a snack, give them a beverage, brush their hair, wash their faces, and just be with them and not rush into the very next thing. Allowing space to express and then to nourish all of that just left you, like fill it back up with some really good experiences. I think that we forget that, right? I mean, I think I'm still, I still have enough brain left to remember my childhood, and not having the space to come home and let it all go and have time to transition.
Yeah.
I think as adults now, if we can allow ourselves to do that, and like I said in the very beginning, money is this amazing teacher and an amazing opportunity to heal and to grow and to learn how to do things differently. It really is the final frontier. If we can rewrite our relationships and heal through money,
Yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
then that changes absolutely everything.
Well, because when we were younger, our experiences, they're imprinted on us. And because we
Mhm.
interact with money, it is this energetic, it's a transfer of energy, right? So I'm going to
For
give
sure.
my mental and emotional energy now that I'm an entrepreneur to my customers and to my employees. And then I'm going to get paid for that in, dollars, which aren't even dollars anymore. It's just numbers in a computer.
Right.
And then
Your spreadsheet changes.
yeah, my spreadsheet changes. My bank account, the numbers go from here to here. And and that's just an energy transfer. It's just like I'm putting my energy out there in this way, and this is how the energy comes back to me, and whether it's coming through me or around me. So
Mhm.
what money can do, and this is why financial therapy is so important, and why the program that I went through, I would say it was meant to kind of bridge the gap between financial professionals and mental health professionals. It's like, because so often the mental health professionals were saying they keep talking about money and I don't know anything about money. And the financial professionals are like, they keep talking about emotional stuff and I don't know anything about emotional stuff. Right. So certified financial planner was like, well, let's give you a primer of both areas. So there was, a whole financial section, which was a breeze for me, which would be difficult for the people in the mental health world. And then there was
Mhm.
the emotional systems training and all that kind of stuff, which would have been a breeze for the people in mental health that I had to work harder to assimilate. And so I really do think that it shows up in money because money is so tied to our identities. It's
Mhm.
a mechanism for our stories to be placed in front of us. So if I go someplace and I have a fear of rejection, it's going to show up in the way that I either don't ask for a raise or I won't spend money on myself. In fact, when people work with me, one of the things that I say in my initial proposals is this might look expensive because I make custom coaching packages for people that include like an educational component and then most often some one-on-one time with me, some email support, just kind of looking at their situation. It's like, how do we get you from A to B? And so it's pretty high touch and it's also very, it's got a lot of value to it. And so they can be on the higher end in terms of cost. And people are like, I wouldn't spend that much on myself. And I'm like, this is part of the therapy.
There's the problem.
Yeah.
In there lies the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
and that is what we are going to help you get to. And, I always offer payment plans and things. It's like, so you can maybe spend a little at the beginning, but that is very important to tell your nervous system that this is a safe experience to spend money on things that you think aren't necessary. But I'm like, that's kind of the whole point is that you're not thinking that this is necessary, that being with you and being centered isn't valuable to you. Like interacting with money in a healthy way isn't valuable enough for you to go through this process. If you can do it on your own, I say go for it. Come back in a year. If you haven't figured it out, then we'll start working together. But most people are like, yeah, I've been trying and I'm not sticking with things. They're not
Right,
as
right.
dedicated to the process, Lisa, and you live in this space of, trying to, this is how, all of your work is around this. Most people, if they're going off to some corporate job every day and then they have to find time to like think about this stuff, they just don't have the bandwidth for it. So they need a guide. But yeah, I really think that that's, a really good example of like this stuff just shows up in your relationship with money and it's not about money.
Right.
It's
Right.
about these stories that you've been telling yourself that have to do with money because of the way that it is a form of energy.
So listeners, what I'm understanding from that is if you are facing challenges with your relationship with money, that is your tell. That is your big screaming, flashing
It's
red
an
light
opportunity.
sign. It absolutely is. Hello, pay attention. This
Mhm.
is what you're supposed to focus on now. And if that is the case, please, 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 please reach out to Jennifer Edwards. I am telling you right now, this is it. I am a firm believer that 2026 is this incredible opportunity, and I'm not a New Year's resolution kind of gal, never have been. There is something about the energy, and we could talk for days about that too. But everything around 2026 is shifting into a new way of living.
Mhm.
Money is at the dead center crux of all of this. It is going to teach us, it is going to guide us, and it is going to be redefined in how it helps us function in the world. So please stop the shame game, stop the blame game, and just say, holy shit, this is an opportunity. I
Yeah.
get to figure this out now. My life gets to change. Let's embrace this as something exciting, as something new, as something curious. It's going to itch at your brain and it's going to stimulate you and trigger you to move in directions you have never been to before and heal in a way you have never, ever healed before. And the most beautiful part about this is that we have professionals like Jennifer here who can guide us through this new way of living. Heal your relationship with money. Heal your financial trauma. Who knew that financial therapy existed? And here we are. And I grew up one of my first big jobs was with Fidelity Investments. I worked there for many, many,
Yeah.
many years. My
A lot of
husband is in
traumatized
finance.
people there.
I was very lucky. I was very, very lucky. Very, very lucky. I worked with an amazing team of people. My husband, he's an estate planner. We know money.
Yeah,
We live in
for
money.
sure.
And so that's how we embraced this as an opportunity to heal our childhood stories.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those ancestral stories that came forward into our current lives. We were damned and determined to not pass that forward. Our children, we want them to have a different story programmed in their brains, ones that they get to choose, ones that are going to support them in being their best selves. And everybody, that starts with learning how to do things differently. So, Jennifer, if somebody would like to reach out to you, which hint, hint, nudge, nudge, I am urging all of you, consider this. It's a strongly advised invitation. How can somebody reach out and talk to you, get some help, and start working on this relationship? And let me tell you, everybody, the changes, they really do start happening
They do.
very, very quickly once you start doing this work.
And in fact, you don't actually have to spend all that much time thinking about your past. In fact, that's not always helpful for
Right.
trauma. So it's really nice when we go, okay, this happens, and then we can actually move forward. You don't have to have this indefinite coaching therapeutic experience forever
Yes.
and ever that takes 5 years or anything like that. We can get to the other side of the way
Just
you interact with
recognize
money
it,
pretty
pull
quick.
back from it, move forward. It's efficient. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. So my website is breakthroughfinancialwellness.com. It's kind of a mouthful, but if you just Google Breakthrough Financial Wellness, it'll come up at the very top. We'll also, I think, Lisa, if you don't mind, we'll put in the YouTube channel, we'll put in the description just a quick link to my free call with me. And that's really the
Absolutely.
best way to get started, is to just have a conversation. I mean, you can peruse the website, but it's more about it's a free call. We get right to the heart of what's going on with you and what breakthrough, what we could do for you, as well as if there are other resources that I'm like, oh, you're really a good fit for this other colleague of mine or this other resource that I know about. It's just my whole hope that you get to the other side of this. I'm almost always sure I can help people do that. And I haven't had somebody that I haven't been able to help yet, but it's, yeah, Breakthrough Financial Wellness, or the description, we'll put my calendar link down there. Just click on it. Just say, oh, I can spend 20 minutes with this person. It does take a lot of bravery, Lisa. We know that.
Oh, heck yeah.
Click on that.
Yes.
And
yes.
then not to cancel or to actually show up. I mean, I commend anybody who actually will come and go, I'm meeting with a financial therapist. It's very loaded. But if you have the courage to do that, you might even have to do some processing before you can actually click on that link. But yeah, let's make it happen.
It will be forever available, listener. We'll have that link down there. And I can't remember if I did an episode about it or if I sent an email out to the mailing list, but 10 seconds of courage. 10 seconds of courage. This, I swear on all that's holy, will change your life. So take a nice deep breath, scroll down to the show notes here, and just click the link. Strongly urge you, invite you to click the link, because this 10 seconds to click on the link, 10 seconds to choose your date and time, 10 seconds to confirm, and then 10 seconds to show up, just show up, and Jennifer's got you for the rest of the way. That's amazing. Jennifer, thank you so much. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Are there any parting words that you would like to share before we come to a close?
I just want to say it's all okay. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're experiencing, it's all okay. You're not to blame for where you are, but you get to have the opportunity of responsibility for where you want to go in the future.
Words to end on. Thank you for listening, listeners. Thank you for being here with me. I hope you got as much out of this episode as I did. And we'll see you next time, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, that's it, listener. Before you go, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and set your notifications to never miss an episode. If you'd like even more with me, come on over to nagarelife.com. And if you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, go on and share it. Share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it as well. All right, I'll see you next time.